Academy and the host of this show. And today I want to talk to you tell you about the book I'm reading at the moment, actually. And I think it's really relevant in that what we're dealing with here in England at the moment with the impending lockdown and all that comes with it. And I think there is a lot of fear, and the reason why, I just think it's a good time to think about this stuff. I just happened to be reading about it in Jay Shetty's book. So this is the book that I'm referencing. This is Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty, and I just happened to be reading a section on fear and how we deal with it, and I thought it'd be good just to share what three things actually that he talked about with regards to how we cope with fear. And I think they're really useful in that we've got a lot of things going on, lots of things that we could potentially be fearful around, and if we have a strategy to cope with it, I think it all helps. So the first thing he suggests is to rate your fear. And this is a simple task in that you just rate it between 1 and 10. So 10 would be catastrophe, that everything would be that there would be catastrophic, if I can say it, implications, and making sure that we are putting things in perspective. That's what this exercise does. It makes us realize that there are different scales of fear, and there are potentially different outcomes that might come from whatever's going on. And if we can give some sort of measure on it, firstly we can then categorize it in how important it is, and also then put it in perspective as to how we can deal with it. So secondly, he suggests that we should audit our attachment. Now, I thought this was really interesting, in that he suggests that we get attached to things, and these can be either external or internal. Now, external are very much around things like our possessions, like cars and houses, and those things that we value, and obviously they are very, very, very valuable to us. And we fear losing them because we don't know how we would replace them. But then we have our internals, which is around our reputation, our belonging, and all those things that we probably don't think too much about, but actually they're equally important, which we don't like to think that we're going to lose our reputation, and that stops us from doing things. And when we fear that we are not going to belong anymore, and that's quite often when people are put in a place where they're feeling comfortable doing things that they're not used to doing, and the potential of being rejected for what they're doing, and all those things that come from within us, our thoughts, in other words, are our internal attachments to whatever's going on. So think about those attachments. And what he suggests is that we should change our relationship to those things. And what's really interesting is that he suggests that everything is temporary. And I think he's got a point, actually, because I think if you're too attached to things, thinking that you are entitled to things, you think that they're yours forever, and that if you lose them, then your life will end almost. That everything would come to a halt. Then maybe you're catastrophizing too much, in that we know there's lots of ways of coming back from all sorts of things. And I'm not doing this for a reason to, with all that's going on at the moment, trying to trivialize anything. This is nothing to do with that. This is about having a mindset about coping with these things and trying to put things in perspective so we don't get carried away, our minds don't get carried away, and also we got to remain able to make good conscious decisions, and that's the important thing. So we need to have a strategy and think about things in relation to, firstly, rating your fear, and secondly, auditing the attachment that we have to those things, and being aware that are we having too much attachment to losing things, that maybe we are not really realizing that actually everything is temporary. And the last thing really is a really simple thing, and that is really understanding how we can reduce the way we feel about things just by changing our breathing. Now, this is, you may or may not have come across this, but this is a very simple technique. What it suggests is to breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and then breathe out for 4. Now, do that a number of times, and once you do that, then you are reducing your feeling of anxiety. Your breathing controls how you are thinking about things, and ultimately you're then in a better place to make better decisions. And so that fear that maybe had built up inside is not quite such a problem. Maybe you're able to think straighter and also cope with whatever it is that's going on and the decisions you've got to make ultimately. So I hopefully that's useful. It's only a brief interlude into Think Like a Monk. Highly recommend the book. Really good read. Getting lots from it, and looking forward to reading the rest of it. I'm only about a third of the way through, but I thought it was a good time to share something that I just read just in the last day or so around fear. And I think we're all going through some sort of fear with fearing the future, fearing what's going to happen, fearing how we're going to be able to adapt to whatever's going to be announced again in the future, how long we're going to be in a lockdown, how long we're going to have to deal with COVID and all the things that are going on at the moment. And obviously that boils down to the fact of how we can cope with these things, and having strategies around those things really helps. So just to recap then, the 3 things: firstly, rate your fear, put it on a scale of 1 to 10, and then that helps you put it in perspective. Secondly, audit your attachment. So that's about understanding where it fits in, how important it is, actually realizing that nothing is permanent, and a lot of things that we think are permanent, actually when we lose them, they end up being not that important after all. So do that exercise and think about that. And then if you feel that you are getting tense and feeling really uptight and fearful, then regulate your breathing. Your breathing has a lot to do with how you cope with things, and having a strategy and being able to use your breath to calm things down is a really, really good way of doing that. And just to reiterate the 4-4-4. So breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and then out for 4. And do that as many times as it takes to regulate your breathing. Make sure that you are back in a calmer state so that you can make better decisions. So thanks for tuning in. Hope that was useful. If you've come across this on replay, then please leave a comment. I will get back to you. Appreciate those who are tuning in regularly, wherever you are on LinkedIn, Facebook, or on YouTube. And I will see you very soon for the next episode of the Get Savvy Show by the Reluctant Leader Academy.